don't know, my name is Trent Thomas and I'm part of the TM degree. First off, by show of hands, who's ever re-imaged their computer at the imaging bar down in the comments? Okay, so quite a lot of you. All right, so the imaging bar is a perfect example of what is a deployment solution, and the operating system that is installed onto your computer through the imaging bar is a perfect example of a Windows image. Now, ImageMe is a company that I have created to provide Windows deployment and Windows image development solutions to companies and schools alike. This is very important because due to business and academic continuity, if someone's laptop or computer fails, that's problems. You can fail a project, a business operations can go out the window, costing massive quantities of money. The project scope involves the planning, the design, the development, and the testing of these deployment systems, as well as the customized operating systems. And additionally, there is a questionnaire that is being developed. It's actually a physical copy is available at the very back of the packets I've distributed to you guys. However, a digital version is in the works. Here we have a risk register, also known as a risk matrix. Now, due to time constraints, I'm not going to go into every single one. However, I would like to detail a good risk, a positive risk, which would be Microsoft discontinuing support for Windows 7. This might seem like it would be bad. However, due to this, that means that we have additional opportunities to convince companies to upgrade to Windows 10 or a succeeding operating system, therefore either bringing new business in or renewing old contracts. Here we have a Gantt chart. This is a summarized view, including all the major milestones and its subcategories. We have the image development up at the top, deployment solutions right over here, and the questionnaire right here. Project starts January 4th, and the estimated completion is February 27th of this year. Here's a resource calendar, which involves all of the employees that will be involved on the project. I have summarized the estimated time and cost for all the tasks associated with an individual resource, as well as the individual tasks that they are assigned to. The estimated cost for the image development section of the project would be approximately $5,700. The estimated cost of the deployment solutions would be a little over $10,500. And the questionnaire would come up just below $6,300. And including closing costs, this will come to about $24,000 to build the foundation of the company, allowing us to cater to clients from then on out. Now, obviously, I don't have enough time to go over every single document I made, so here's an actual short link which gives you a download to all the documents listed here. So instead of me handing you a tree in a folder, you can download these documents and view them at your own discretion. Also, if you would like me to show you the link later in the question series, let me know, I can come back to it. The technologies involved would be NT Lite, which is a major component, WinISO, PowerShell, VBScript, and the operating systems listed here. WinISO is for major touch-ups after the ISO is created, PowerShell and VBScript for automating tasks post-installation, and NT Lite is a gem. I love this software. One of my clients actually paid me in the licensing cost because they were so certain that I would be able to deliver them a product that they would be satisfied with. They actually paid me first. I can do all of these things listed here. One of the most noticeable ones would be unattended setup, as well as removing components and such and such. Within the questionnaire aspect of the image development, this allows us to automate much of the development process, and this would be filled out by the IT department and potential administrators or functional managers for a school or business. There is a software version in development. Backend has a lot of work done on it, and I have completed a visual pseudocode for the GUI, and that is available upon request after the presentation. I wanted to figure out how much can I remove from these operating systems without breaking them, to give me what's a bare bones version. I checked ISO size, installation time, disk usage, and RAM usage. These are the original values. And this is how much I was able to reduce it in the final versions. There are more than 1,000 components in either operating system, and I have removed probably almost everything. I would recommend using it, but it gives us a good place to start when working with customers. I've worked with 2 companies during this capstone. These are real companies. Robots in Disguise is a software-based company based in UK. They create automation software for PC-based video games. They've been working on a new product for about 3.5 years now. The problem is that because their product controls the keyboard and mouse, and users want to be able to use their computer at the same time as the software being run, they're not going to sell a lot of subscriptions. And so my solution was to offer them a virtualized solution that allows the users to, when purchasing their package, utilize this virtualized Windows 7 operating system and therefore bypass the problem entirely. Malone Tuning is a Canadian-based automotive tuning company specializing in BMW, Volkswagen, Porsche, etc. And Flashzilla is a proprietary solution that they have to interface with their tuning hardware. The problem is that it requires Windows and it's not being rewritten anytime soon. Some of their technicians like to use Mac OS X, and so the solution to this was, again, a virtualized solution for Windows 7 with the software pre-installed, allowing their technicians to still interface with the tuning hardware regardless of what their host operating system is. This is a network diagram of a deployment solution. This is just an example. There's a ton of ways to do it, but this is the way I built right over there. The physical machine has an ESXi host operating system, which is a Linux-based operating system through VMware, and it has 2 virtual machines, virtualized servers, both running Windows Server 2016. WDS server is a Windows deployment server. This is a server that holds the images and actually allows you to install Windows over the network. And the other virtualized server holds the domain controller, the DHCP server, and the DNS server. Now, a lot of you guys may not know what that is. The short of it is, this is required to even make this work at all. So this is basically a prerequisite. Some of the images that I've thrown onto the server that's sitting right over there would be Windows 7. I just have the original ISO. I worked a lot on ISO development with Windows 7, so I wanted to focus my time on Windows 10. I've created an equivalent to the Neumont image that is installed on W540 images, has all the same programs, it includes Windows updates, drivers, and more. I've also created my own version that includes more than 3 dozen applications that I normally install after a reimage. So instead of me having to reimage and then spend hours and hours and hours installing Microsoft Project and Visual Studio and everything, it comes pre-installed already on the image, saving me literally hours every single time I reimage. And I reimage 2 to 3 times a quarter if nothing goes wrong with my computer. Time. Yeah, what were you going to demo?
Can I see your demo?
Yeah, it's literally, it takes like 5 seconds. I'm actually, during the entire presentation, I was re-imaging a computer with the equivalent Neumont image. So when this is done installing, it'll look very similar to what the Neumont image is from downstairs. Unfortunately, it takes longer to re-image than it does for presentations. So.
Is that quicker than if I were to go down and re-image? I've never re-imaged, so.
It takes approximately the same amount of time, roughly 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the network.
What was the most difficult part of your project?
I would say having an almost 0 IS background and trying to go and deal with type 1 hypervisors and dealing with Windows Server, which I'd never touched ever in my life. Effectively, having to learn technologies that people at this school spend an entire degree learning. There's a lot of IS students that I've spoken with during this project who are like, I haven't even touched any of that. And so I'm pretty much was on my own in a lot of aspects.
So if you were to build from scratch a pre-built ISO for like your personal one with the programs, how long would it take you to build that up from scratch?
So I built my own image, which I'm actually using it right now, less than a day.
Okay. It's
So
just a matter of knowing what you want.
Yeah, the process is relatively simple. Just infrastructure is what takes the time. So, Marquise.
How much work has been put into your questionnaire?
So, would you like me to show you the visual pseudocode, or do you want me to just talk about it, or?
Just whatever you feel like they'll give me the information.
Okay. I'll show you a little bit of the diagram that I have. I love this software so much. So this is a little bit daunting to look at initially, but this is actually visualized pseudocode. So if I were to take this, I don't know if it's easy enough to see. So let's go up to the top for machine support as a simple example. This would be essentially a section of a class, for example, or potentially a method. You have, ask the user for input. These are their potential options based on their input. You go over to the different trees. It's effectively a sequence diagram of what the GUI would look like. It would probably, the only reason I didn't get this done was due to time constraints. Give me another week, I could easily have this GUI up and functioning. It was just a matter of prioritizing other aspects of my project, and I have a lot of the back-end code finished as well. Warren.
Trent, I really don't have a question. I just think it's pretty cool that as a TM project, which are often hypothetical or mostly in the planning phase, that you've actually done the planning phase plus implementation. So good job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I actually went back and I looked at the work breakdown structure compared to the actual timeline, and that was only a number of days longer than what was estimated on there.
Cool. Good for you.
So how did you come across Robots in Disguise and Malone?
So I used to work for Robots in Disguise
Okay.
a long time ago. I was a help desk technician. They had an employee who built a Windows XP solution, and they fired him, and then Windows XP became no longer supported. And then they shut down all their operations and started building a new product. So effectively, I realized, wait a minute, their product is going to fail if they don't have this back up and running. So I reached out to them and I said, hey, I'll do this for free. You just pay for any licensing, but like the labor will be free. Just give me all the time and the flexibility I want to work on it.
Did they have access to this flowchart diagram? Or?
No, I had to do everything from scratch.
So that's not up and running yet. You said that.
No. And then Malone Tuning was actually, I was reached out to by them because one of their employees was actually an also employee of Robots in Disguise, and they saw my work, and they said, hey, we will pay for the licensing for the premium development software up front. You make us an image because we're so impressed with what you've done with Robots in Disguise.
Good job, Trent. Good job.
What is your plan for delivery of this questionnaire area? How would you want that? Is it be for administrators, users, website, standalone app?
So initially, I was going to start with a C# application, which would be brought in by a sales representative who's meeting with these companies through a tablet, for example. They can fill it out. However, the only reason I didn't go web is because I incredibly struggle with web development, and I know I wouldn't have had the time to put that in for this project. However, as an end goal, because I want to take this beyond Capstone, I want to make this real eventually, and I would look into a web solution.
You can see me after.
Yeah. Yeah.
So JP and I, we have one concern
Okay.
about the project. Well, it's more about the presentation. We are undecided on whether you were wearing your sunglasses on purpose.
Oh, was I?
Oh, it was an accident.
Why didn't you guys tell them?
You guys think of that?
No, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
It was not intentional.
Wait. Tell them about the 3D piece that you created. And that's what the glasses were for. is the 3D part that you-
Well, your glasses were blue and your shirt was blue, and so we weren't sure.
Baby.
So, do you have any way to handle licensing issues for the software?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Due to time constraints, I didn't put it in my presentation, but I was hoping someone would ask. I'm a Microsoft partner. I partnered up with them during my Capstone, and all it is a simple phone call to a Microsoft authorized distributor, and all I have to do is say, hey, this client wants this many licenses for this operating system. They tell me how much is this going to cost. I acquire it and I add that as part of the fee associated with this. And I can actually integrate the keys directly into the operating system when I provide it to them. So it will automatically work, and I can even have it set up with KMS servers as well.
So you said you re-image 2 or 3 times a quarter. Did this cause any problems during your Capstone?
Okay, so my hard drive failed last week Thursday while I was working on my project. And I realized if I hadn't picked this Capstone, I probably wouldn't be able to present today. Because either if I had saved everything, the amount of time I would have lost would have been enough that I wouldn't have been ready today. So I went and picked up my deployment server, brought it to school, re-imaged my computer using the image I made, and I was up and running within a number of hours.
You've talked a lot about what you have accomplished. What were you not able to accomplish here that you wanted to on the original?
So I was not able to complete the questionnaire to the extent that I wanted to. I wanted to have a functional version where the questionnaire, you could fill it out and it would actually output a file which I can input directly into my development software, which then is as simple as pressing process, and within a number of maybe 30 to 45 minutes after you've completed the questionnaire, you have a prototype.
Why weren't you able to complete that?
Time constraints, focusing my time on other aspects of the project. Additionally, I did have to take about 4 to 5 days off to go back home to visit a dying family member. And so I feel if I had been given another week or two, no doubt I would have
So if it had not been for the personal issue, you probably would have done it.
Oh yeah.
About how much work did you do every week for this Capstone?
The business documents I completed all in 3 weeks, about 20 hours a week. Whereas all the rest of it, I spent 30 to 40 hours every single week. Most nights I didn't get to sleep until 6 in the morning.
Time.